Evening. Welcome to our Bhagavad Gita session. We continue with the study of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. And text 4 and 5, we were going to focus in a little bit on it. Last week, I asked, those of you that were attending, if you could do a little homework and give me or share your realizations on what Krishna was saying. It's a very profound section of the Bhagavad Gita. And I thought before we moved past it, we should try to understand it a little deeper. So, did anyone do their homework? Did anyone, study that verse and have some understanding, further understanding or realizations? Text nine, chapter 9, text 4 and 5. I'll read them so you can meditate on them. Maya tatam midang sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavashtitaha. Krishna says, by my unmanifest form, I pervade the entire universe. All beings rest in me, but I am not situated in them. All beings rest in me, but I am not situated in them. And text 5 reads, Na cha matstani bhutani pasya me yogam aishwaram bhuta brin na cha bhuta stau mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. And yet the beings are not in me. Behold my inconceivable divine mystic opulence. Although I sustain all beings and am source of everything, I remain detached. Okay, so I thought we would start. I would want to get my Gita here. Here we go. Yeah, because I took that from another Gita. Just want to read the way Prabhupada translated that. And it's also very clear. By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And text 5, as Prabhupada translates. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Okay. It's a little bit more clear and extended. So does anyone, can anyone share with me their understanding of those two verses? What is Krishna saying here?
Well, can I say?
Yes, of course, Rose, please.
Hi, Hare Krishna. Well, what
Hare
Krishna is
Krishna.
saying there is because he's like the sun. Imagine the sun is there, and one of the rays of the sun come inside the house. That is still the sun's the source there. That ray that of the sun that comes in the house, it enlightens the house, but that is not the sun, but still it's part of the sun because it
Mm-hmm.
comes from the sun. The sun is the source. So that's
Right,
what I think. So that's Krishna. He's within us, but he's not us. We are not him.
right. Very
Yeah.
nice. Very good. And that's a very good analogy to use. There are previous acharyas, in order to explain that verse, use that sun and sunshine analogy, the energy of the orb of the sun, although what it leads us to understand in a greater view is called Achintya Beta Beta Tattva, the Sanskrit of that. Simultaneously, and this was the contribution, one of the main contributions that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his tradition, the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, contributed to the understanding of Krishna, Radha, the universe, the relationship. See, because we have a relationship with God God has a relationship with us. We have a relationship with the material energy. The material energy has a relationship with us. God has a relationship with the material energy. And all of these relationships are understood by this phrase, achintya beta beta tattva, which means simultaneously one and different. And Rose explained that very nicely when she said that the sunshine is the sun, but not the sun. That's what simultaneously one. So sunshine has its origin from the sun, but it is not the sun orb, the origin of it, but it is the energy of it. So this material world, the Virat Rupa, the material manifestation, universal manifestation, is the energy of the Lord, the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says that when he says earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, these eight comprise my external energy or my material energy, the separated energy, as sunshine is separated from the sun, but yet connected to the sun. So this material energy, the source of the material energy is the Supreme Lord. So, but it's separate and has a very separate and distinct function. But it is not, we cannot say that the earth is God, and yet we can. So it may sound a bit complex, complicated, but the energy, the analogy that Rose gave a nice description of it. And thank you very much, Rose, for your contribution. Anyone else would like to bring to our attention another analogy that clarifies these particular two verses? Does anyone have a way that they would like to describe this? Why these verses seem contradictory? Krishna first says, everything rests in me, right? Everything is in me. And then immediately he says, I am not in them, nor are they actually in me. So what does that mean? The Acharyas explain that this is not a contradiction caused by poor logic. In other words, they really didn't get it. They really didn't get what Krishna's saying. Here it's saying, no, it's not poor logic. It is a deliberate revelation of the Lord's transcendental nature, which cannot be fully grasped by ordinary material reasoning. There's a verse that Prabhupada often quoted. He said that the Supreme Lord cannot be understood by material senses. We cannot understand the form, the name, the qualities or the pastimes trying to, by material calculation, have that understanding. And Krishna even says it in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yongam tam yena mamupayanti te. That Krishna is saying that if you serve me and worship me, I give the understanding. I give you the understanding by which you can come to me. So it is Krishna's grace that is bestowed upon us when we make the effort, when we make a sincere and determined effort to try to know Krishna. How do we do that? In the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, practical demonstration of a sincere and determined effort is the development of a sadhana. That means Krishna gives us, Rupa Goswami actually gives us 5 important aspects of bhakti. And if we include that in a regular regimen, chanting, association with advanced spiritual teachers, spiritual masters, Swadhyaya. What we're doing right now is Swadhyaya. It's the study of sacred texts, and specifically the sacred texts are the Bhagavad Gita that we are studying now in the postgraduate study of Bhagavad Gita, which is called the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Purana. And so that's three really important things that is part of our sadhana. Chanting, japa, and kirtan, the association, like we are having now, we're having association with one another, and we're hearing Swadhyaya, we're hearing from the sacred text Bhagavad Gita, which are actually words spoken by Krishna himself. And then Tirtha, that means going to places, sacred places, holy places, places such as in India, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri in particular. Those are three very, very important holy places for Gaudiya Vaishnavas to go to. And to go there, why do we go there? Not just to go to a place that's considered a holy place, but why is it a holy place? Two reasons. One is there have been pastimes of the Supreme Lord there, and there also, through the course of time, those places are considered spiritually surcharged and therefore have attracted the presence of great sadhus, great saintly personalities, not only many thousands of years ago, but also right up to today. So going to a holy place is kind of a continuation of the three that I previously mentioned. Because when you go to a holy place like Vrindavan, Sri Hari and I were in Vrindavan in September and October. And every day we went, we heard the chanting, kirtan, we heard Bhagavatam class, Srimad Bhagavatam class. We saw the deities. That's the fifth anga. Chanting is one. Second is the association, sadhu sangha. Then swadhyaya, study of sacred text. Also, swadhyaya means self-study. That means we have to look at ourselves and see where our deficiencies lie in terms of our spiritual life. It's not like we're overanalyzing. We don't want an analysis paralysis, but we do want to know, am I chanting attentively? Because inattentive chanting causes other offenses. So am I chanting attentively? And if I'm chanting attentively, or if I'm not if, if I'm not chanting attentively, how do I correct that deficiency? So these are important aspects of those three. Fourth is going to holy places, and fifth is when we do bhakti rituals like deity worship or whatever we're talking about. Deity worship means, like, for instance, many of you have been to my house and you've seen my altar. And on my altar are deity forms of Gornitai, Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, Subhadra. So that kind of ritual, it's called the bhakti ritual, and that's also considered one of the five aspects of devotional service. So we have this sadhana that we perform, and that helps us to demonstrate, practically demonstrate. That's when you can see your interest in bhakti is getting more serious. Usually it starts out with a little faith. We have a little faith. We've come in contact with someone who impressed you. They may have said things that piqued your curiosity or sparked your intelligence or got to the core of your heart, and that you feel a little faith, in this process, and you want to hear a little more. So then you seek out the association of more advanced people and you hear from them. That develops more faith, and the more faith that you develop, the more association that you keep, eventually you take on a very serious and regimented sadhana. Patanjali defines sadhana as something which you do regularly over a long period of time. So in order to practice, when Krishna says, worship me, think of me, etc., we cultivate that through sadhana. We cultivate thinking of Krishna, worshiping Krishna, hearing about, because these are all practical demonstrations of our sincerity and our determination to advance spiritually on the path of bhakti yoga. So that's very important. So Krishna says, the acharyas are saying these two verses are not contradictory, that they have it is deliberate revelation of the Lord's transcendental nature. Now, there's two aspects to the Lord's nature. One is called immanence, and the other one's called transcendence. So this also is in keeping with the Achintya Beta Tattva, or simultaneously one and different. Immanence means that you can realize the presence of God everywhere. Krishna gives a whole long list of I am the light of the sun and the moon, I am ability in man, and he goes on and he gives all of these different ways that you can connect. And that is called eminence, because that means everywhere there's God's presence. And we can realize that presence, by understanding, seeing the essence of everything as the actual presence. It has that essential. I am the taste of water. I am the symbol Om. I am the sound Om vibration. I am the ocean. I am the of purifiers. I am the wind. So Krishna gives many, many different ways that we can connect with him in that feature of him that is everywhere, present everywhere. And then the second aspect, the transcendental aspect, is called transcendence. And that's when we understand that God has three features. He has the energy, just like Rose was enlightening us about, the sun and the sunshine. So there's the form, bhagavan, and the energy from that form. And that's called Brahman. And that is the the all pervasiveness of the Supreme everywhere, because that energy which is creating and sustaining and annihilating everything, that is coming from the Supreme. So in this way, transcendence means understanding, focusing on the personal feature. The personal feature appears in two ways. The Bhagavan, the form of Krishna, the form of Ram, and that way. And then Paramatma, which means the form or the presence of the Supreme in our hearts. So transcendence means that we can actually have a relationship with that personality through our sadhana, through hearing. Particularly, there's nama, there's rupa, there's guna, and there's lila. Nama means the name, the sound vibration that we utter, which are the names of God, Krishna, Rama, all of the different names that are there, Madhava, Yadava, Keshava, Giri Govardhan, so many different names that are there. Murari, Krishna Murari, all of these, this is sound. And the difference in sound that is spiritual and sound that is material is that the sound, just like we were discussing, the simultaneous oneness and difference, the sound is the Supreme. We utter the sound, It's not that Krishna appears in front of us when we utter that name Krishna, but it is Krishna. Krishna is fully present in that name. Rama is fully present in that name. It's not like material substance, water. If you say water, the qualities of water are not fully present in the sound vibration. The qualities of liquidity, wetness is not there. Doesn't quench your thirst when you say water. Same thing with fire. The energy of fire is not there in that sound vibration. So that's how the distinction in material energy is separate and distinct from the supreme. Although its origin is the supreme, it is separate and distinct. So its sound vibration is also separate and distinct from the element. Whereas on the spiritual platform, the sound vibration that you utter, Krishna's name, Krishna's pastime, Leela, that sound vibration, you are in direct connection. Now, because we're not sufficiently purified, our hearts are not purified, it's kind of like having the analogy that's used in the Brahma Samhita is the cataracts. When you develop cataracts, in October I had a cataract operation. So the reason I had a cataract operation is I was starting to see blurry. I didn't have clear vision, and I didn't even have cataracts that badly. But when you get cataracts seriously, you can go blind. You can no longer see. So the Brahma Samhita uses the analogy of cataracts can be removed in Ayurveda. In particular, Ayurveda has certain herbal formulas that you put this salve or this formula onto your eyes and it will get rid of cataracts. What happens when you get rid of cataracts? Then you go from blurry or no vision to full sight again. So why we can't see God next to us is because we have the cataracts of being conditioned by material nature. In other words, we, the soul, the spirit soul, which has a direct connection to and relationship with the Supreme, covered because we're finite, we're very, very tiny. When we get covered by the material energy, we get conditioned by it. And the conditioning is we see the material energy and nothing else. We relate to the material energy and nothing else. We try to exploit the material energy. We try to enjoy the material energy. And so our hyper focus is on involvement or interaction with the material energy. And thus, the more we do that, the more conditioned we become. And the more our eyesight becomes cloudy. Just like they say, children are naturally innocent. But as they grow older, they lose that innocence. So that's an example of conditioning. As they get conditioned in a particular way, they lose their innocence. So as we, the soul, connect and interact with the material energy, we lose our ability to understand that we have a relationship with the Supreme and we can connect with the Supreme. We lose that ability. So the Brahma Samhita says, Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. That just by smearing the salve of love on our eyes, it allows us to develop clear vision, clarity, clear vision. And we can begin to see God in either his eminence feature, we can see or feel the presence of God in the sunlight, in the moonlight, in the water, the taste of the water, the sound vibration of Om. We can begin to feel, because the essence of all of those things, Krishna says, I am. So here Krishna is the key word in this particular verse that we just read. Pasya me yogam aishwaryam. Behold my inconceivable potency. Why does Krishna say inconceivable? Inconceivable means not conceivable, not, you can't understand. Can't understand how Krishna can be separate and distinct in the spiritual world, interacting in loving relationship with his parts and parcels, his devotees, and yet permeate all of the material energy anywhere and everywhere. It's like you have a sheet, right? A bed sheet, say a bed sheet that's made of cotton or silk. Everywhere in that bed sheet are fibers of cotton, if it's a cotton bed sheet. Everywhere, every corner, every place on that bed sheet, there is a cotton fiber. Everywhere in the material universe, every atom, every living entity, the presence of the Supreme is there by his potency. That's why we say omnipotency. Omnipotence means all potency, all energy. All energies are emanating from the Supreme. So, in this way, when we understand that, the Lord can be in that potency, inconceivable potency, he can be everywhere, supporting everything, within everything, yet completely distinct beyond everything. It doesn't mean that if he's in that, then it's like parts of him and then he diffuses. His form diffuses. That's the only way that he can enter into it. No, he can enter into it through his energies, his energetic force. This is the heart of the understanding of these two particular verses. Jiva Goswami, who is a great past spiritual master, Vaishnavacharya, he explains that Krishna exists in three ways simultaneously: as the cause of everything, as the indwelling supersoul. It's described that every living entity, next to every living entity, is the supersoul. This is a feature of the Supreme that accompanies the living entity. When the living entity enters into this material realm, the living entity is accompanied by Paramatma. Why? Sarvasya chaham ridi, ridi is the heart, ridi sanivishto, matak smriti gyanam aponam cha. That the super soul, the Paramatma, is everywhere in every living entity. And from the super soul comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So that means the knowledge of the Supreme Lord and our relationship that's coming from the super soul. When we are demonstrating our sincerity and our determination, that is a reciprocation of that sincerity, that sincere demonstration that we want to know and we want to reunite and reconnect and reestablish our relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, as the cause of everything, as the indwelling supersoul, and as the independent supreme personality of Godhead beyond creation. Jiva Goswami tells us that the universe depends completely on the Supreme Lord. Completely. But he is not dependent on the universe. This is an important principle to understand. The universe depends completely on the presence of the Lord. But the Lord is not dependent upon the universe. The universe is a product And everything in the universe is the product of his energy, whether it's prakriti, whether it's tatashta shakti. Prakriti means material energy. Tatashta shakti means the finite soul. The finite soul is called shakti, an energy, tatashta. Tatashta means that it can be covered and can be uncovered. Just like when you go to the ocean, depending on if it's high tide or low tide. High tide, the water is further up and there's a certain section of the beach you can't see. But when the low tide comes in, then that section is revealed. So that's called tatashta. So the living entity is when the living entity is covered by the material energy, can't see, can't understand its true nature. But when the ocean draws back, the material energy withdraws its veil because of your sadhana, your sincerity, the association that you're keeping, the chanting that you're doing, the bhakti that you're performing. That has like the low tide, the water goes further away and reveals more of the shoreline. The living entity is like that. If we're in contact with the material energy, it covers us because that is energy of the Lord. Therefore, it's very powerful. The external energy, even though it's subordinate energy, even though it comes from the Supreme, it still has in and of itself, its presence has potency. How is that power revealed or understood? It's through the gunas. Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, goodness, passion, ignorance. That is how we get covered and get to see in a way that is really not our nature. We see in relationship to the material energy. The material energy has its potency. The potency of the material energy are the gunas, and it covers us. So a way to understand this is one of the analogies. I have a number of analogies hoping to make these points clear. The universe is there. That's material energy. The Supreme Lord enters into the universe, creates it, enters into it, and then can remove himself. So what is the analogy Jiva Goswami reminds us of? Spider. I know when I was young, I was and even I'm older now, I'm still very intrigued by spiders. The way they weave a net, a spider web, it has beauty and it has potency. It has an ability, right? That ability is any small insect that comes in contact with it gets entangled by it. So Jiva Goswami uses that analogy as well as other acharyas. Krishna, from him comes the material universes, right? They emanate from him. He enters into it, just like the spider gives off the spider web, can weave the spider web. Then it can dance upon that spider web. Any insect the same size as the spider, or even some insects larger than the spider, comes in contact with that spider web, it'll get entangled. But the spider doesn't. It has that ability, that potency. So that is one way to understand the material universe, the presence of the Supreme, but the Supreme is not part of it, doesn't get entangled by it. Jiva Goswami gives us that nice analogy. The web depends on the spider. Spider does not depend on the web. The web cannot be formed without the spider's potency, the energy of the spider, the ability of the spider to produce that substance, which has an ability to be woven like a exotic tapestry, cling to different things. Like every morning I walk out, we offer nice flowers to our deities, and there is a nice rose bush in the very front. And then I have to go along the side walkway. I have to go under the mango tree. And every morning I forget that there's a spider who likes to make his web right under that mango tree. So I just go walk right into it. It sticks all over me, and I apologize to the spider. And I've done that several times now. I have to remember to go around the mango tree and not disturb the spider web. But that's what it does. The spider puts that web there, and that web has potency, energy, and captures the living entity. So it's the same principle. If we are in this material world, we are enveloped by the material energy. That the potency of the material energy affects us by the influence of the gunas. And that means we see, depending, that's why Ayurveda emphasizes very much lifestyle and diet, because this is how we are influenced by the material energy. If we live a lifestyle that's in goodness, sattva gun, then we begin to see differently. We begin to see with eyes of goodness. And the analogy that's used in that is the colors yellow, blue, and red. That if you put on lenses that are tinted yellow, that's compared to sattva gun. So when you develop a lifestyle of goodness, you're regulated in your habits. The diet that you consume on a daily basis are foodstuffs which are sattvic foodstuffs, like fruits, like vegetables, dairy, grains, and beans. These are all considered sattvic foodstuffs. It has an effect on consciousness. And the result of the effect on the consciousness that it has is how you're able to see. You're able to see life. You look at life with a greater deal of clarity. You are actually philosophically inclined. And another aspect of it, so clarity, philosophically inclined, and you regulate it in your habits, and you appreciate things of a sattvic nature. For instance, if you like to go to the ocean or to the mountains, those are very sattvic places, sattvic environments. The mode of goodness is very strong there. You go there, you feel good, you feel relieved, you feel peaceful, you feel comfortable. You go to the city, go to New York City, horns beeping, people walking all over the place. There's a frenetic energy that's called rajagun. This feeling of must do, I must be active, and all of that active, that swirl of activity is going on. That's environment influenced by the aspect of material nature, which is called rajas. And then tamagun, let's use the same city. You go to places that are dangerous, drug addicts hang out there, dirty rats, cucarachas, so many things like that that are indicative of tamagun, the mode of ignorance. Uh, People, homeless people that are on the street, intoxicated, that's influence of tamagun. So all of these influences are there. So we develop or we cultivate a, a lifestyle in such a way that we can further realize our spiritual nature. This is an important thing to go. So another analogy, Rose already gave the sun analogy, is the air within space. Krishna himself uses this analogy for our clarity. As mighty wind rests within space, Krishna makes it. So we have space, and within that space is the mighty wind. Space and wind, two different things, but one is within the other. The space accommodates the presence of the wind. Air moves everywhere within space, yet space remains unaffected. Air can move leaves, right? Air can move, wind can move branches, wind can blow your hair, but space is unmoved by the presence of the wind. So the Supreme Lord is here. He is present within our hearts. He is present by the essence of the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable om, the omkara sound, the taste of water, all of these things that he tells us his presence. Don't worry. Messages app will manage all messages on one screen. Please unmute. Please mute that. So this is another analogy to give us an understanding. So a hurricane cannot tear space apart. A hurricane will exist within space, but it doesn't affect space. Smoke can exist within space, but it doesn't affect space. So all these different examples give us a greater understanding of Krishna's presence and not present, how he can be an immanence feature through different qualities and different essences, but yet he can still remain in the spiritual world, lovingly interacting with his devotees. I'll stop there. I think I've given a lot on those two verses. Would anyone, before we continue, would anyone like to raise any questions or make any comments about what we talked about? If not, I will continue our progress, beginning with verse 6. Anyone? Any realizations? Any observations? Okay. I hope I was able to, make it a little clearer that those two verses, they're considered very important verses. Okay, let's read then text 6, okay? Text 6 reads as follows: Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere, so here's what I was referring to, rest always in the sky. All created beings rest in me. Text 7. Oops. Yeah. Text 7. Here we go. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. There's the spider analogy. He creates, spider creates, and then can withdraw. Krishna creates and then annihilates, withdraws, and then recreates. So there's manifestation, unmanifestation, and then manifestation again. So Krishna is giving us that explanation. Text 8, the whole cosmic order is under me, under my will. It is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So the cycle of this material energy being manifested and coming from Mahavishnu coming from the pores, and the breath of Mahavishnu, universes are there and withdrawn again. And all of this takes millions of years. So our minuteness can be understood by time. We're in this body. This is the illogic of thinking that we're the body, thinking that this brief span of time, ever so brief, in relationship to the manifestation and unmanifestation of this material energy alone, that's not in relationship to eternality, the spiritual nature. That means existence. Can you even imagine non-existence, that you won't exist at all? It's very difficult for us to even imagine that, because even while we're sleeping, we exist, right? In dream state, but we still exist. We're sleeping, we're not walking around doing what we normally do, but there's still stuff happening. Dreams are happening, thoughts are there. So non-existence is virtually impossible for us to imagine because it doesn't exist for us. And one of the reasons Krishna began his discussion with Arjuna, to deal with Arjuna's depression, or Arjuna's feeling dismayed by the whole situation of the war. Krishna describes we're not the body. This is a principal point in Bhagavad Gita that we must understand. When we understand this point, then we can make great advancement, because it helps us in so many different ways. Fear of death, but there is no death. You may not have the consciousness that you are possessing right now, because the consciousness is in relationship to your body. If you're in a woman's body, your consciousness from its inception, from the time that the sperm united with the ovum, the consciousness is of that machine that you have. Yantra Rudani Maya, the machine made of material energy, the machine that you've been given karmically. So when you begin to understand this principle, karma makes a lot of sense. Reincarnation makes a lot of sense. And as far as how we direct our lives, it puts a greater clarity to it. That we do have purpose in being here. We do have purpose in being in the male form or the female form. There's a purpose behind that. There's a reason. And to discover that reason is one of the primary duties of the human form of life. Why am I here? What is my purpose? How did I get to where I am at right now? Where is my consciousness at? What am I thinking of, in relationship to only the body? Where does the suffering come in? And how do I relieve myself of that suffering? You can't relieve yourself of pain, because pain is part of the mechanism, the machine that you're in. But suffering, to the degree that you suffer, that's a product of the mind, which is infused with consciousness. So all of these things come to light when we begin to understand that very simple principle, that we're eternal souls. Eternality is our quality. Knowledge of our position and our relationship with the Supreme is another attribute, and bliss. Everyone can see and understand that principle because everyone is inclined to uh, experience or want to experience or seek out happiness, right? I often say that there's a whole division in psychology nowadays, which is dealing with happiness. How does a person who can say, in general, they had a happy childhood, they're having a happy life? What are the components of that happiness? So we are um, beings that like to experience happiness because it's our constitution. It's the very substance that we're made of: eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And the practice of bhakti yoga puts us in contact with our true nature. That's why what Patanjali says, yogas chitta vritti narodaha, that when you meditate, you practice yoga, and in your yoga you're meditating. Once you advance in your meditation, it puts you in contact with your nature, your constitutional nature of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. In other words, you begin to realize or see or experience internally that you are an eternal being. And your real happiness comes when you put yourself in contact with that which is your true nature. What is Maya? What is the definition of Maya? That which is not. So Maya is that which is not, means illusion, means you're in Maya, you're influenced by the material energy and affected by Maya, which means you're deluded into thinking that you're the material energy, and you're not. And anything in relationship to the material energy cannot provide you with the ultimate happiness that is your constitution. Yoga, and specifically bhakti yoga, is meant to put us to reconnect. What is the definition of yoga? Connection, linking up, to link up and to reconnect with our constitutional nature. Why bhakti yoga? Bhakti means through love and devotion for the Supreme Lord. All the other yoga systems that Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita are other ways to connect with the different aspects of the Supreme. That's why we study this. That's why we try to understand what is the different the energy, Brahman. What is Brahman? What is Paramatma, the super soul? What is Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality? What are all these things? And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving us, through Jnana Yoga, through knowledge, you can learn how to experience your Brahman nature. So this is why Bhagavad Gita is such an important book. It's such a comprehensive book that it gives us not only yoga, but the various means, the specific yoga that we can come in connection with the aspect of the Lord that we want to be in contact with. For a bhakti yogi, if you're attracted to bhakti yoga, you're attracted to love and love relationship. And the whole aspect of bhakti yoga is to cultivate our love and relationship with the Supreme. We experience that connection through love and devotion. And then we begin to experience the result of that connection through love and devotion. Just like you may have had a person on the periphery of your life, maybe you see them, but you don't talk to them. You don't really know who they are, etc. Then all of a sudden, you develop a relationship with them. In other words, you start connecting with them, speaking to them, and you say, "Wow, you know, I like that person. That person has some very nice qualities, nice things to say, etc." It comes from interaction. And then when you do that regularly, then the relationship grows closer and closer and closer to the degree that it's supposed to grow. But if you don't, then it doesn't go anywhere. The relationship doesn't go anywhere. It's the same thing with the Lord. If you only relate to the Lord's external energy, the only relationship that you have is with it and with its qualities, its characteristics, its attributes, which means it's temporary. The material energy is temporary. So you relate to temporariness and you think that you're going to die and that freaks you out. And all the enjoyment that you experience is temporary. And that becomes your interaction with the material energy. And thus you don't feel satisfied. The ultimate satisfaction, the santosh, the contentment is not there. You're moved by raja, you're moved by passion to find something else that'll bring you happiness or something. I got to go to this ecstatic dance. I've got to go to this party. I've got to do this. I've got to go out to dinner. All of these things. It's a life of doing. Whereas when we are influenced by sattva gun, goodness, we do things like meditation. We do things like associate with sacred text, sacred sound vibration, try to enrich our and expand our understanding of the self. Then we begin to experience that and clarity of vision. We begin to experience that. So this is Bhakti Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga process. And I gave you the 5 important limbs of Bhakti Yoga: chanting, association, sacred text and self-study, going to a holy place, and ultimately instituting a ritual into your life that will help you to remember your relationship with the Supreme. So I'll stop here right now. It gives us a couple of minutes to meditate on what was said. And where do we stop? We stopped at text 8, I believe. Okay, so we'll begin with text 9 in our next class. So thank you for your attention. Would anyone like to share their takeaway? Any takeaway points that are there? Anything that kind of popped in your mind that made a realization come? Or if you have a question, please feel free to ask it. Anyone?
To me, today, Hare Krishna was one of the best classes ever. Seriously. I have learned so much from your speech today, Lakshmi. Thank you.
Oh, you
It
are
it
welcome,
was
Rosie.
so meaning. Like your classes are very. There's a lot of meaning. There is a lot of learning. But the today one, I don't know if it's just me, but it clarified so much stuff that was a bit cloudy still in my mind. So thank you so.
I'm happy that it helped out a lot because this 9th chapter and 10th chapter are the heart of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the heart of bhakti. It's said chapters 1 through 6 in general deals with karma yoga. 7 through 12 deals with bhakti yoga. And 13 through 18 deals with jnana yoga, knowledge. So and within 7 and 12, those chapters, 9 and 10 are really helping us to understand bhakti and to be able to contemplate on what bhakti is. So those two verses in particular had a lot to say, and it had to be unpacked in the way that we unpacked it so that we could piece it all together. I When I was first getting into bhakti, um, what came to my mind was, those points, you connect the dots and it turns into a picture.
Right.
So when I was getting into it, I knew there was a picture there, but I couldn't see it because the dots weren't connected. But as you practice and you have certain realizations, they're connecting dots, and ultimately, when the dots are all connected, you see Radha and Krishna. So all that we're doing now, when we do kirtan, when we're studying like this together, when we're in community, when we're reading on our own the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam, all of these things will help us to connect the
Connect the
dots.
dots.
Yeah.
Right.
And eventually, as we do that, we'll begin to see the picture. We'll begin to see the form that the picture takes.
Well, I have one question, one doubt
Sure.
about
Okay. Mhm.
Maya, because you always, we know that Maya is mundane illusion, right? Illusion. But then there is Mayapur, because there is a positive side of Maya also, right? There is Mayapur, named out of Maya, and when they took Krishna as a baby and brought him across the river so that his uncle wouldn't kill him. So they put Maya instead, right? So when his uncle came thinking, so you were born, so that was Maya. They substitute. They took Krishna and put Maya instead, right?
Right.
So how would so what is the positive side of Maya? Then I remember to have seen it, but I kind of forgot.
Maya she's just doing her service to Krishna. Her service is to create the illusion for those that want it. You see, she doesn't forcibly put people into illusion. People want the illusion. So Maya is there and she does her job very expertly. If you want to be in a situation, did any of you ever see the movie Matrix?
Yeah.
Who, raise your hand if you saw the movie Matrix. Probably all of you have seen it. Okay. So do any of you remember the part where the guy is going to betray them? And he says, I know this is not real. He's at a meeting. I think they're at a restaurant or a cafe, and he's going to betray, the people that are resisting the computers or whatever that's creating the illusion. And he's there and he's sitting there and he says, I know this is all an illusion. I know that, the reality is we're in a pod and you're using our electromagnetic energy from our bodies. And then, all this out here, the body and what seems to be, I know that's all the illusion that you're creating, but I want it. I want to be wealthy. I want to have the illusion of wealth and power and all that stuff. So Maya is doing her job. And then you should understand also. So she's doing her job as a service, as her service to Krishna. But there's also two aspects of Maya. There's Mahamaya and there's Yoga Maya. So in this world, Mahamaya creates the illusion that keeps us apart from Krishna. Yogamaya creates the illusion that brings us close to Krishna.
Hmm.
So the devotee can't act as Krishna's mother or father if she sees Krishna as God. because then there'll be only awe and reverence. Like when Mother Jasoda, for instance, when she had Krishna on her lap, and Balaram told Mother Jasoda that Krishna was eating dirt, and then Mother Jasoda said, and Krishna said, "No, Mother, I'm not eating dirt." And Balaram said, "Yes, he is. He's eating dirt." So Mother Jasoda said, "Okay, okay, we have to settle this. Open your mouth, Krishna. I want to see if you're eating dirt." Krishna opens his mouth, and the entire cosmos is there. The entire universe is there. And Mother Jasoda is like, "Huh? What is that?" So Krishna realized if Mother Jasoda thinks that he's God, and she's not going to treat him like her son. It's a flavor of love that's important to Krishna. It's a flavor of love that Krishna wants. He wants to receive. So he covers her again with Yoga Maya, because Yoga Maya makes her think that she's the mother. So there's two aspects of Maya's service. Mahamaya keeps us from Krishna. Yoga Maya brings us to Krishna. So so everyone's in Maya. It just depends where you're at in terms of your advancement, your love for Krishna or not. Okay?
Okay.
Is that all right, Rose?
Right. As far as yoga Maya, I'm trying to understand. So, what would be the illusion? Am I under the illusion that Krishna is with me?
No, that's not an illusion. That's reality.
So, what's the illusion then?
The illusion is that there is no God.
Huh?
There is no God. Only your desires are important.
No,
That's the illusion.
no.
Only the fulfillment of your desire.
I'm talking about yoga Maya.
Yoga Maya, I said that when you get advanced, right? When you're advancing and you be starting to understand your relationship with Krishna,
Mm.
when you start to understand your relationship with Krishna, you'll begin to understand whether you're friends with Krishna, you have a love relationship, you have a parental relationship with Krishna, or you have a conjugal relationship with Krishna. You begin to understand your true eternal love relationship with Krishna. And
Oh,
then
that's Maya.
yeah, that's the illusion, so that you can act as Krishna's friend, so that you can play with Krishna, so that you can, put a flower in Krishna's mouth or throw a sweet ball at him. If you're thinking Krishna's God, you're not going to do that. Oh my God, you know, I'm going to insult God. I'm going to offend God. But Krishna doesn't want that. That's why Braj Bhakti, the Bhakti of Vrindavan, is so far advanced, because Krishna wants it. He wants that kind of relationship. It's God with his hair down. He wants to be able to act with you any way that he wants to act, and any way that you'll reciprocate with him. So that's where the Yoga Maya comes in, to put you into the understanding that Krishna is your best friend, and I'm going to play with him today. We're going to throw fruits around today. I'm going to jump on his back, and we're going to play that kind of game today. Or mother, that you have a maternal relationship or paternal relationship with Krishna. I'm going to chastise Krishna if he steals the butter again. Well, how can you chastise God for that? Everything is his. He's not stealing anything. It's all his. But when you're under Yoga Maya, you have that illusion that you're the mother. You have this motherly relationship with Krishna. Krishna, why are you stealing the butter? Stop that. And then you'll chase Krishna with a stick. And there's a whole pastime called the Damodar Leela, where Mother Jasoda is chasing Krishna with a stick because he broke the butter pot.
Right.
So that's you don't see God in either case, but you in Mahamaya, you think that you're God. You're the supreme. All of your desires are to be fulfilled. And the other, in Yogamaya, you see Krishna as your friend, and your only meditation, your only contemplation is to please Krishna. That's it. But through the medium of friendship or parent or servant or lover, like the gopis, through that medium. And the only way that you can serve in that way is if you're under the illusion that Krishna is your lover, Krishna is your son, Krishna is your best friend that you go and tend the cows with.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
now I understood. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Beautiful.
Anything else? Any other questions or comments or aha moments you'd like to share with us? Be greatly appreciated. Anyone?
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Jada, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for the class, Lakshmi.
Were
And thank
you
you.
were
What'd you
you
say?
able to grasp what was going on there?
Yes.
Great.
And I loved Rose, your question about Maya and I didn't realize that there are two forms of Maya. I think that I had like a a more negative view of Maya,
Yeah.
but now I feel like I have a deeper sense that Maya is a part of like the play of like it's a part of the dance, and it's
Yes.
not something to be like to get worked up about, I guess.
Yeah, to minimize or to think it's a negative aspect. Prabhupada said, Maya is just doing her service. This is her service to Krishna, and she does it expertly. So the illusion is actually the type of illusion that you're put on is generated from you. If you want to be the enjoyer, if you want to be the supreme, then you come in contact with Mahamaya. But if you want to know what is reality, what is truth, that's the preliminary aspect of it, and then enter into that truth, and then that's where Yogamaya comes in. So in either case, she's doing her service to Krishna very, very expertly, and we always pay our respects.
Wow, that's such a I feel like that's such a shift for me to like actually pay respects to Maya. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, you're welcome, Jada. Anybody else? Thank you, Rose and Jada, for your nice questions and participation. Anyone else would like to say anything or question or share something? If not, I'll let you all go. I appreciate your time and your attentiveness to the class. And I hope you all have a very happy, healthy, and holy week. This is a lot of people are going out of town, I guess, this weekend, or we're staying put. We just feel like we're going to stay put and relish the moment. So you have a great, happy, healthy, and holy week, and I wish you all well and bless all of you in your endeavor to know Krishna and serve and love Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Thank
Hare Krishna, both.
Hare Krishna.
Good night.